Hello, everyone. I know we're a bit late. We said 8:15 is 8:23, so 8 minutes late. Sorry for being a bit late, but um, yeah, we're here now. How you guys doing, Karen and George?
Good,
Better to
bro.
see you,
Good.
bro. Better for seeing you, innit?
Yeah. Well, let's get into it because it was a good, very good game. Just gonna say it like off the bat. It was a very good game. Very good scoreline. Very good for narrative. Very good for goal difference because we haven't been
Well, I don't
positive.
know, Chris. I'm gonna be a little bit controversial. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was happy with the performance, but I was expecting something very different because I obviously didn't see it live, right?
Yeah.
So, and I was asking people like, how was the game, and like I had a rewatch of it, and I watched it last night. I watched it this morning as well, and I don't know. I was talking to Curran before. I was expecting a game filled with attacking patterns because I was seeing our best half of football, and I don't know if I'm there. Like, we were very efficient, and we'll definitely get down lineups first half, second half. But I don't know, mate. I didn't feel that we camped out in their half, had wave
We
after
didn't.
wave of attack, and that's what I was expecting when I went online and I saw best half of football that we've played, and we did well. We were efficient, and then there's some definitely really good performances. I think Martinelli on the whole is my man of the match. He was a constant reference for us. And there was a couple really good performances. I think our pivot was phenomenal in this game together, not individually, but phenomenal together, which is a weird thing. And I think oddly, Ben White had an awesome performance except for the pen. Like otherwise, he would have been up there for man of the match for me because he was phenomenal in the first half, breaking lines, stepping out. And it's weird. I feel like Ben White has a really good game against his former teams. Like just in general, it's almost like he feels comfortable stepping out far more. I find him breaking lines a lot more against his former teams. But yeah, look, obviously a good result, and like you said, good for goal difference. It's just I was weird. I was watching the game, and I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the wave of attack because I saw such positivity online, and I don't know if it was because we went 3-0 up in the first half, therefore X equals Y equals great performance. But we were good, we were efficient, but I definitely saw some things that worried me. And I think the second half drop off, let's have a discussion about that because I don't know about you guys, but I saw it coming from the 35th minute
Yeah.
and well into the first half and before Saka's goal. Saka's goal for me came almost against a run of Leeds pressure. And I was like, there needs to be some impetus here. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but did you guys feel it was like that best half that we
No,
played?
It
Because
wasn't
I
even
saw that a lot on the timeline.
I
I feel
think
like
it was
Spurs were
because
better.
it's probably the most clinical we've been all season,
Clinical,
including
yes.
including Spurs. Like that's probably the most clinical showing we've had
Yeah.
all season. Like 11 shots on target out of 15 shots in the first half was big from us. But I think just the stats just hit the narrative: 3 goals, 11 shots, 2 XG in the first half. Like all this was hitting the narrative that we were performing very well. For me, it wasn't our best half in the past week. Obviously, we've had 3 good performances in West Ham and Southampton and Leeds, but like for the past week to lead up to us being more clinical, I think it just punched through the narrative that we're doing well. For me, I liked the change of rather than sustaining pressure and dominating the whole time, we were clinical and actually took our chances
Hmm.
rather than feeling like we wasted. Even though there were still, I feel, goals that we could have scored.
We left
It-
goals on the pitch still in that
yeah,
game.
but it didn't
Yeah.
feel like the other games where you feel like,
Yeah.
that's 100%. We should have we like the Martinelli goals were very good goals and they weren't the best chances we created. But we deserve more goals. But 4 is the most we've scored all season. So the clinicalness is an improvement and a nice change to see, rather than complaining about not having enough chances, which we haven't done. But in general, I think Leeds, obviously
They
there
were
was
poor,
noise
man.
about
Like
them.
Leeds for me, and look, I expect it. The amount of injuries that they had, their whole
Yeah.
spine is decimated. But mate, the amount of gaps that team had
For
for
me, it
us,
was evident in like, the first 2 minutes where
yeah.
Laka passed it to Odegaard and he just
Well,
ran.
that first chance, like
Yeah, he
Odegaard,
ran
he
in the
has a
halfway
great
line
find,
and no one contested him.
but also, mate, Odegaard underhit that. And Lacazette still had the time to dig it out and get a good shot. And by the way, but this is an example of, in my opinion, the stats misrepresenting the game, because you look at that chance, Lacazette should bury that 1v1.
100%.
Would you agree? Like,
100%.
and he shoots it just at Meslier. So that counts as a shot. And I feel a lot of our shots were straight at Meslier when we should have done better.
And that's why people were saying he was saving them from the first half. And he was decent. He was their best player first half, probably, because there were a lot of shots.
Right back though? Was it Darwin? Let me double check. Because let's do a lineup review. But I think their right back really impressed me because he was.
I know who you're talking about. The light skin one.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
I'll get it, because for me, Tierney and Martinelli again. Martinelli was this for me. I know we keep saying it, but that boy's going from strength to strength, mate. Like we'll have a Martinelli section, because for me, he was the reference in this attack, and even aerially, we would look up for him, and the ball wasn't really sticking in this game in the middle of the park like we wanted it to, and we had to look at second balls to release. And Dharma, thank you, talking ball. Yes, I thought he had an excellent game, actually, and he was doing really well trying to track Martinelli, and even on the Martinelli chance, he almost gets there, too, on his second goal. So, he did really well in the game. And you're right. Look, when you do a shot stopping performance and you keep balls out of the net, you got to praise the goalkeeper, right? It's just, I felt we made it very easy for him. When we were in space, Lacazette missed 2 chances in the first half I caught. Martin Odegaard missed several chances in terms of releasing in the box that we ended up having blocks, I believe, and there was just like little things that happened, but in all, it's nice to have an output performance. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so I don't want to complain too much. It's just I had a very different narrative. I felt like going in, I was getting the impression when I did
think it's because you watched it without the emotions.
Maybe it's because there was no emotion, because I was waiting in the first 10-15 minutes after Martinelli scores. I'm like, oh, I'm excited, but I'm waiting for the wave of attack, because I'm assuming we get control of this, and I don't know if I quite saw it. And there was a point.
It wasn't like sustained, because it wasn't sustained pressure. There was like the first 15 minutes was the biggest period of us dominating possession. We had 75-25 in the first 15. Yeah. But after that, it just started slowly switching towards Leeds.
Because Rafinha has a chance, mate. Like when it's 1-0, and I think it's in the 18th minute, and he does everything right receiving the ball and everything wrong in the composure.
Yeah, I thought that was poor from White, because I think everybody knows he's going to cut in. There's no way he was going to go outside on his right foot. So Tierney didn't do the best. But White was there. He should have just blocked the shot instead of committing. But I think, the composure from him was very poor. And he should have at least got that on target.
Yeah, and for me, like, that changes the narrative. And I felt like that was the point of the game a lot, where we weren't sustaining, but there were transitions from both teams, right? And then we basically scored at very opportune times, because, in my opinion, that goes in, a lot of the narrative changes. And I think Leeds were up for it. The support was crazy. Just through the screen, I could tell that it was madness. And, between Ramsdale, riling up their fans, it was a good game. Like, I enjoyed it. It's just, Cedric gave me heart attacks. We'll talk about that Peno, because people are blaming White, which I think he's rash to go so quick to ground. But for me, Cedric loses. He's nowhere to be found, and that's his marker. And he leaves someone go, and he makes White have to make a decision. So for me, it was a great result. But I don't know if, like, the performance. No, it wasn't that it was a poor game. For me, I just felt that we were very clinical, and I felt that we could have sustained pressure a lot better. And you could tell that this was away game nerves, because the performances at home, they had that clinical edge, but we sustained pressure far, far more. And I think the drop-off that a lot of people are seeing was just we weren't clinical in our transitions.
Yeah, we still won our second balls. It was just that once we won them, the pass was poor.
Yeah, and so then people then equated that we dropped off. But for me, we were playing very similar to the first half. We just weren't as clinical.
Our line didn't drop. Our line didn't drop, and that's the main difference, I think. Is like you can see that there is I still feel that there was a performance drop off, like in terms of players tiring,
You know who it was? It was pressure from up top, the front two. Laka
Yes.
and Odegaard
Yes.
really struggled for fit. And I maintain, I think Odegaard's got an injury, like, to be fair. Because,
that's why I said straight after West Ham. Obviously, I wasn't here.
yeah.
But immediately after West Ham, I thought he was like, that's probably the first time I've ever seen him like gassing at half time.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before.
And
even when he got injured after Norway, he never gassed at half time. So something's wrong with him, even though he's performing and getting numbers.
And it's affecting even when he isn't gassed. Like the physicality. I mean, we've constantly talked about on the channel about the fact that he doesn't overlap on the right hand side. But the thing is, he's under-hitting passes on a regular basis now, and
that for me is fitness, though, mate. Like,
exactly. That's what I was about to say. Like, it's literally a fitness issue. I feel like the thing that his superpower is being able to find a
pace on the ball in the final
pace on the ball in the final third. It's just not there at this moment in time. I feel he is playing well, and I'm not going to I feel like a lot of the narrative is that somehow we're still pining for Maddison and the Odegaard, and it's all Odegaard hate. And I wanted to dispel that a bit, because I feel like Odegaard is always been someone who I personally feel has a lot of quality, but the questions have always been there about his physicality, and can he cope with what we need to can he cope physically with what we need him to do in the final third. And that has been the issues that we've had from him from day one. And I maintain that's the issue right now. But it's not a quality player in there. There is a proper baller in that kid. He has specific attributes that are very, very, very good in terms of being able to unlock a low block, being able to find balls in the final third. And if he's central, he's able to strike a ball very well. He's able to make very good third man runs into the box, later runs to get onto cutbacks. And he's finding a goal every now and again. So it's very much a case that, look, there's a player in there, but I just feel like there's more we need from him. And at this moment in time, the physicality isn't there.
But Curran, mate, he can do more. The issue that I have is he can see these balls. A lot of the critiques, like, I'll never criticize a player for something that he can't do, but what I will do is criticize a player for me. The release on the ball needs to be quicker, whether it's a final action shot or whether it's a final action pass. And when he is doing the pass, he has the quality to release that in space. Like the Lacazette chance in the first 2 minutes, there's no reason that shouldn't be on his front foot, strong side. Lacazette has to dig it out from behind him, and he gets a good shot in the end. But that a couple of times that happened with Martinelli. And then when you look at the final action, for example, on the goal with Emile Smith-Rowe, beautiful pace of pass. Like, it's inconsistent. But to be fair, again, I think for me, there's something fitness-wise going wrong, because even if when you look at Odegaard's best qualities, some of the things that he's doing right now are his bread and butter. Like, even with, the physicality talk. And for me, it's not even coaching-wise. Like, the pace of pass on Odegaard's balls are immaculate. That's one thing you can never say against the man in terms of technical quality, spatial awareness stuff. His pace of pass is 100% always the thing. And when that struggles, I go, okay, there's something wrong. That's kind of like when Partey isn't able to win second balls and he gets outrun. I'm like, okay, you're not fit. Because when you're fit, no one can outrun you. And your second balls, no one can do that. Granit Xhaka, you're unfit when you get the ball taken off you from behind, like last game. You're unfit when you do that challenge. That red card that everyone keeps saying in the Leeds game? That's Granit Xhaka unfit. So there's a lot of players right now that I think, in my opinion, are in the orange zone, I would call it. Not quite red zone, but there's a lot of players for me in that team that are just struggling for their top fitness right now. And look, Christmas schedule, you can blame
it's always going to be the
there,
case,
but probably we should get back into, like, instead of general overviews, because we've waffled a bit, but maybe get into the starting lineups, because, boys, no concerns, but I will say ESR versus Odegaard was my one chance, because I felt like you, Chris, that he deserved a rest, because I felt like there's something wrong. And I think Mikel's gone for continuity to build partnership.
That's what he does. He gives you a chance to continue your form till you finish it, and then bring someone, rather than trying to disrupt it.
Yeah, we mentioned it on the preview as well about how you don't. I don't think he would drop Odegaard, but I would like him to bring Emil
Yeah.
back in because he's had his rest and he's somewhat. And look, Odegaard looks leggy, but it's like CK just said about Mikel prefers letting players play out their form, and if it starts to drop, okay, then we'll make the switch. But players earn their spot in the squad, and then
when he does that, it's good and bad. For me, the good part is that it lets everyone know that if you play well, you can play. But the bad thing is that when you see a player is starting to dwindle, he still leaves them to hang themselves rather than him just, let me take you out the limelight and let me put someone else in. That's why I think the issue lies. But with Odegaard, like, he's performing but unfit. But I think he wants Emil to be fully fit before he brings him back in. I just hope Odegaard doesn't play versus Sunderland because I think it's just too quick a turnaround for him.
Yeah.
Like fitness-wise to play.
Or if he does play, he doesn't play Norwich. Like he
can only play one game next week.
Yeah, he's got one game next week, and we gotta look at that. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that I took away was I was really, really happy that Martinelli was starting.
Yeah.
And so the big thing is between the two, I was happy that he kept his place. I think Lacazette, for me, I still believe that there's others that can do that job in terms of Nketiah and Balogun, but I understand the seniority. And he played really well against West Ham. So I was kind of like, you know what, you deserve your spot, right? And while we wait for, Emil to get back, people are looking, that's what, 2 goals in 2 games. So I was like, there's going to come a point where you need to release him, right? Like he's played 20 minutes here and there. There's going to be a point that you're going to have to do that. And I think Martinelli's played so well right now off the left, and the dynamic that they have, it's going to be a question of who's in the hole in the future.
Yeah.
But from a case of the starting lineup, I was happy with it, mate. Like we've got our back 6 now, right? So like whenever they're fit, that's never a question. And then it's kind of like,
even
what do we
back
want to do?
7, let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know when everyone's fit, we know Saka starting and the whole back 7, the goalkeeper back 4, and pivot, we know what it's going to be. So then it's about the 3 on the left. That's what it's always going to be.
And if Martinelli is in form, right now, like he is right now, and you combine it with Saka, there's only 2 ways that you can fit this, in my opinion, right? If you're going to play Martinelli left wing, then you have to have a Balogun / Lacazette playing with him. If you're going to put him up top, you need creativity across the back line. So then you're basically saying either it's ESR Ode Saka, and that's the type that you use with Martinelli. And it's a case of
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, like which game plan do you want us to go with essentially there? And I think it depends on the opposition. I felt like with Leeds, the biggest issue I had was there's going to be space, there's going to be man marking. That's a game for Emil Smith-Rowe, just as much as it is for Martinelli. Like when you look at transitions and you look at where the space is going to be, and you look at style matchups, I knew Martinelli would have a huge game right off the bat, by the way. And I was disappointed in Emil because, again, I wanted Ode to get a rest because I felt like we're going to need him for Norwich, which I think is a tough game. I've told people in group chats, I think Norwich is going to be a very tough game with Dean Smith because it's away at Carroll Road. They've been in very good form, and he has them playing very well. So for me, I kind of wanted him fit for that game. But again, not a big issue. Continuity, and you're never upset, when a player's in form and he gets another chance, right? So I think starting lineup-wise, I was okay. I did say, though, with Leeds starting lineup, because I think maybe we should run through it for people that didn't see. So you got Meslier right at the back. Drame, who was the guy that I was unsure what his name was, the light-skinned right back, that for me had a very, very good game.
I said light skin.
And Koch, Ayling, Dallas at the back, along with Click, Forshaw in the middle. And then you had Rafinha, Roberts, Harrison, and Gelhardt up top. And then, of course, for us, we had, KT, Gabriel White, Tomiyasu, and Ramsdale in goal, our pivot boys, and then Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka, and Lacazette. So for me, I took a look at Leeds and I said, you know what? This is going to be an easy game. I'm not going to lie. Like I had to look through it. I know I wasn't on the preview, but I felt that, Ayling and Dallas would struggle. They both had a picture moment with Bukayo cutting in and getting sat on their asses, which I found absolutely hilarious. But that
he should
for
have
me,
taken his time after that.
Yeah, and my only regret a little bit is that we didn't punish that side quick enough. In my opinion, because again, I felt like, I don't know what people were watching, but I felt there was a lot of transitions. And I think even on our goals, you know, the Xhaka assist was him in space from a second ball releasing Martinelli. It wasn't necessarily in a settled block and a settled way of possession. And a lot of our goals were like that. They were scrappy. Martinelli's first goal, you know, Odegaard has a chance to come in. Then Laka on the rebound gets kind of a block, and Martinelli spills the loose ball top corner. So like, excellent finish, efficiency, amazing. But the little issues that I had with it was they weren't necessarily settled patterns of play. But maybe I'm nitpicking, because for me, I just felt like when you looked at the Leeds lineup, I wanted a little bit more control, because I feel in future away games, we can't play like this in terms of letting it become transitions.
No other team will give us space. That there's no other team in the league that gives you as much space as Leeds will. So
I said in the preview that it was going to be a game where you should be, you know, keeping a fairly high line and sustaining the pressure as much as you can, because you want to see that control performance against a team that is A, missing a lot of players, and B, has a lot of spaces in between the lines. And if you have that, I mentioned Forshaw. I thought Forshaw would leave space behind. I thought there would be a similar dynamic to the Tielemans Leicester game. I thought maybe there would be an issue with him coming to, because basically you'd have Forshaw and Dallas, and I thought maybe that there'd be an issue with getting players in the spaces behind those two, because they don't really play in a pivot that often. I thought maybe the balance might be off, and that you'd have space in between the lines. And if you look at that game and you look at how, if you were to look at how you would want to attack that game, you would say, look, they're offering you massive spaces between their midfield. There's massive spaces all over the pitch. Get them back in their own half and really turn the screw on them and make sure that their position, you make them position themselves. And I feel like at times not dropped too low, but we weren't keeping the pressure as high as I would have liked in that first half. And that's why I pushed back a bit on the fact that it was our best half. It was our best efficient half. I think, as George mentioned, that attacking patterns weren't as pronounced as I would like them to be. There weren't the same rotations that you could see off the ball. And if we were fully fit, I feel like the rotations would be a bit more snappier, and you'd have the rotations getting in behind and creating even more chances than we had, and we had so many. So I feel like it was a case where we played very well, but there is another level to this. And I just want to, how do you guys feel about it? Do you think there was space behind the line?
The press was off for me.
Yeah, the press was off.
And that's what gave me the impression that it was a lot more transition based. And again, I don't mind that. It was controlled transition. I don't think I was ever worried because we were winning our second balls. But for me, the biggest thing that I felt like was the front four and the back six, their press wasn't as close together. At West Ham and, at Southampton, I felt that the shadow cover on Diop and, the spacing between our midfield and attack was far tighter, and I felt like in this game, it wasn't quite there. And I think it was because they had so much space in the middle. People were just stepping up out of their line and forgetting the build-up. So, Odegaard or Xhaka, when he received in so much space, he's like, oh, I'm going to take it because you're giving me all this space. And I'm going to play the boys in. And, I think Bukayo had a lot of really great barnstorming runs. Like, maybe we should get into the first half, right? So, like, the first 15 minutes up until that goal, I agree with Chris. I think it was our most possession-based, if you want to call it that, in that half.
80-20, I think it was.
Sorry?
That? It was like 80-20.
It was 75-25.
Was it 75-25? Yeah, something along those lines.
Something crazy. And I think when you look at the first goal, so what, Bukayo picks it up kind of wide, and he does his trademark, I'm going to take 2 or 3 man out of the game. Right, comes in and it kind of is a very messy goal, right? Like it kind of spills in the middle of the box. Granit tries to come in. There's a shout for a penalty, and the ball spills to the right. And Martinelli's alive to the loose ball, an efficient top corner finish, like lethal, right? What did you guys feel like on the first goal there? Because again, for me, I think this highlights maybe my weird feelings to the game, because I was like, wow, what a finish! But
I felt
very lucky.
I think it was coming, but the goal wasn't a representation of how we were playing in that period. I felt we should have. Well, obviously, you get the goal, however you get the goal, and it wasn't a clean goal, but it was a goal deserved from all the chances we had before that, because we had two Tierney shots before that, Laka going 1-on-1, the Saka miss after the 1-on-1, the party shot after the Saka. Like, there were chances brewing.
It keeps going.
There were chances coming. Like in that first 15, there were a lot of chances on target. So I felt, however the goal came, it was going to come regardless. But that goal wasn't representative of how we were in the first 15, but how we were after. But it was a great finish, and it spurred us on to score another with the Xhaka pass. But
this felt like an output FC game. This feels like if you're looking for output and you're looking for I want the goals and assists. This is the game for you. I mean, it feels like there wasn't a lot of good footballing maneuvers in that final third. I don't feel like the rotations were as efficient as I mentioned before. And even when off the ball, there were times when the press wasn't as good, especially in that first 15 minutes. I feel like it was very much our defensive line was so good at nicking the ball off them, and they weren't able to get out. But again, we weren't able to defend that first to second phase transition as well as we did against, say, like a West Ham.
Well, the thing is, right, because like when you analyze that goal, it's really tough because I think it's great play from Saka. And that's why when I was first texting all the boys, I was like, oh, shit, he's going to be man of the match. Because the way he was attacking their line was phenomenal, drawing markers in. And look, again, like I want to be fair, like Lacazette, like his industry gets the touch that's the loose ball to Martinelli, right? Because Xhaka gets fouled, I think, right? But then, Lacazette's endeavor on, I forget who he challenges, but he gets a touch. Forshaw, yeah. And he gets a touch that spills left. So then Martinelli's alive to that loose ball. But then when you actually look at the second goal, which came, can you guys remind me, was it 2 minutes later?
It was 4 minutes later, I think.
Or 4 minutes later. Like it was a couple minutes later. But
yeah.
Forshaw's breaking on the left, if I remember correctly, and he tries to pass in the middle to a loose ball, and then Granit receives in space because Forshaw passes to no man's land.
Yeah.
Granit looks up, steps, plays Martinelli in acreage of space. Now, again, this is where, Kern, you said before, this is... Sorry?
10 minutes later.
Was 10 minutes later. And that's why I felt like it was a basketball game, guys. Like, I don't think it was as close as what people were saying. And maybe this is just me talking because I was removed and I didn't see it in time. But again, 10 minutes later, and that's in between Rafinha having a one-on-one chance, right? Because we went 1-0 up. Rafinha screws the pooch in the middle of that period, doing everything right on the break, but then a horrific composure. And guys, I don't know why. Like, he gets out on target. That's a goal.
Yeah,
like it should have been on target.
And I think Ramsdale after that chance though was hilarious. After that chance, he was celebrating like it was a goal. It was.
And for me though, but that's the thing, and I think Nashville's saying it felt quicker, and he believed me when he said 4 minutes. I think that's my point here, and I don't want it to get misconstrued. Where I think that I'm not going to complain from output, but I don't mean this as an insult, but I kind of do. It felt such a united game, where.
Yeah, there was a lack of control from any really team.
Point, actually.
Yeah.
And it was back and forth.
Yeah.
More our way than theirs. So
yes, and we had more of the back and forth, no doubt. But I don't like that. Like, I'd rather it be controlled in how we do it. And I just didn't see that. So then when Rafinha loses that chance, by the way, I think Tierney does poor. I'm not going to lie to you, Chris, because I think, look, Ben White should know because he's coming inside. But for me, Tierney switches. He shows him outside and then shows him inside. And you always know that Rafinha is going to come inside, so stick him on your blind side. He shouldn't be turning like that. And so, like I agree with Nashville. Like, it's entertaining, but I'm not going to lie. I don't like that away from home, because I know what we're like. And so if you let that happen long term, that's not sustainable for me. But after that, you guys then look at the second goal. So again, Forshaw's coming in, kind of makes a no-man land pass into the middle of the park. Granit picks it up loosely, steps up, has a look up, fires it to Martinelli. Guys, we got to talk about the run, the finish. And again, this is why I kind of praise Dharma, because for me, I think Dharma almost came close to catching up. Yeah, and he almost caught up to Martinelli. But guys, the composure that isn't an out to in run. Can we just I just want to talk and have a little bit of a discussion about what's happening here, because was it Ailing? Okay, sorry, I can't remember who was the one midfielder they were breaking at pace and then gave it to Granit Xhaka essentially. But when Martinelli is in that space, did you guys ever fear that he was going to miss that?
Nope.
No.
Because for me, 1v1, and he has this weird dribbling technique, guys. But I don't know about you, but he almost looks like he doesn't have control of it, and he's done this a couple times.
He did it he used to do it.
It literally looks like the ball is leading him. It looks like the ball is like, it looks like kind of like he's just chasing after the ball.
It caused the defender like when the drama. It allowed him to engage. Like he always thought I could win the ball. So he stayed on Martinelli the whole time.
And for me, and the reason I want to praise it, mate, because it's very purposeful. It may look like he doesn't have control, but he has full control of what he's doing. He's done this to Conte. He's done this to countless times when he first came in, when we faced the Colorado Rapids. Do you guys remember that?
He broke through from like 60 yards away, but he missed that time.
And this is just who he is. And so I think, but when you look at that dribbling style, it isn't in control of as a winger. He can't really, he runs in straight lines for this to happen, right? He has a head down and he doesn't dribble head up. So I think a lot of people confuse that with football IQ, and it's just different dribbling styles and different dribbling techniques. And when you look at it, for me, that was just Martinelli 9, to the max. And yes, maybe it's subjective. Maybe it's I'm backing up my own narrative. But here, there was no out to in. It was
all central
in space. He goes in between the center back and the full back. That's classic center forward play. He drives inside and he draws in the markers. And when Mesle is up, he gives him the eyes, chips over the keeper. That is just composure to the nth degree. And for me, his movement all game was phenomenal. And we'll get into it. Maybe now we'll get into it because we're talking about him. But for me, he made so many runs inside. Like Lacazette, the more the half went on, the deeper he went. He started going to midfield. There was a point at the 40-minute mark, he was at left back, guys. And he slotted in. And he was trying to tell everyone to slow down, but I think it was because he was tired himself. and he receives the ball and he's passing it out to Ramsdale, legitimately at the left back position. And that's what I mean when I think everyone got tired, by the way. And people started to loosen. I think Odegaard also got very, very tired at that point, but Laka was not helping him because he started going from up top to the midfield. And we were lucky that, Bukayo gets his third goal, because then, when we talk about that, we'll have a Bukayo section. But what do you guys feel was Martinelli's best attribute from the game? Because for me, man of the match wasn't just his movement and his composure, but for me also, even his retention. We were throwing the ball up to him and he's winning all of his aerial duels. Chris, I don't know if you have stats, but for me, he was a constant menace in terms of being an outlet. And he was not an option for people. What did you guys think? Was this another Martinelli 9 game? Or
yes,
was this,
100%. Look, I'm just going to say this. We have, I've been one of the biggest advocates for his running off the ball and the fact that he's great as an outlet. But the main thing for me is, what have we needed this year? And that is a centre forward that is clinical. And the composure and the clinical nature of his finishes is what has impressed me most. And this is the thing that we need to realize, is that we haven't even seen him get ahead of the season. His aerial ability is great. He's a great finisher. He's composed. He does well in one-on-ones. He's very good in terms of getting past his man. I know he was an inside forward, but
no, he's making the point that he was inside forward.
I know. Try it again, Nick. But the thing is, if you look at the qualities that he's presenting, these are striker qualities. And George mentioned it before, the off-the-ball movement. His runs are central. Look at I want everyone to go and look at the West Ham goal again. The West Ham goal, where is his running start from? He comes from just slightly. He's not coming from wide. He comes slightly off on the left and runs central. This isn't an out to in run.
It's annoying, mate, because you know what it is? I sit there, and as an Arsenal fan that's maybe a little bit older, you talk about our greatest striker in the history of Henry. loving to favor a little bit of out
Loving
wide
that.
inside, and people aren't calling him an inside forward. He was a striker. And
Yeah.
when you look at it, Eduardo, who again is a
Mhm.
very underrated striker of ours, was making very similar movements. It's just, it's an off the ball
Robin.
mover. And the
Robin.
big thing is when he's clear on goal, is his head up?
No.
That's my one question, because there is Saka that's breaking on the other side, and he could pass it off. Like, his head is down. He's got one thing in mind: I'm
From the
taking this
first
all the way.
touch.
Yeah, and for me, the way that he his maturity about when to turn it on and off is what's improved. Everyone loves to call it the La Pausa, the tactical moment. Mikel has talked about it going up in gears and when not to. I think he's recognizing when he can go chaos and when he can't, because that's what I call him. I call him a chaos merchant wherever he is, and we can have debates, inside forward or whatnot. And when you look at it, for me, he's learning when to unleash the chaos and when to be controlled, and that for me is a maturity thing. I think that's Arteta's biggest quality. When people start saying, how does he coach wingers and attacking talents? He coaches La Pausa to an elite level. He did it with Saka. He did it with Emile Smith-Rowe. He's doing it with Martinelli right now. And even to a
Sterling,
certain
Sane.
extent, yeah, and Sterling, Sane, like, this is what he does, and he's able to coach. And the biggest thing that I'm really happy about is, I know, guys, record it because it's going to be Odegaard praise, the third goal, the first time touch. This is what I want from him when I say about verticality. When I say he's receiving a ball and it was first time, he plays the first time ball to Saka, which again is behind him, but who cares? I'm not going to nitpick.
The timing
The
is there.
action of him releasing that ball quick is what gives Saka the 1v1 opportunity. And I find, that play I was really happy to see. And guys, Saka's a cheat code. Like, if you look at it, look, Odegaard makes a good first time pass, but it's like in the air, and it's a very tough ball to control on the run too. Like, and Saka makes it look easy. And look, he's through. There's a little bit of argy-bargy in the middle, and then he gets a little bit lucky with a deflection goal. But I think it was more than what he deserved, because for me, Saka was up there for one of the very good performers of the half. And I think Xhaka actually had a really good game on the ball this time. For me, I felt that there was a lot better technical prowess in his game, because I felt like last game, it was like, oh, you did second balls, but you were really poor on it, slow. I felt he was a lot quicker. He was releasing Martinelli, and maybe that's a function of having space, because Leeds give you acres and acres of space to run into and, time on the ball. But I think Rennet had a lot better game technically. And then we kind of closed the half, guys, with a lot of stoppages too. I think, it was 3 minutes extra time and 3-0 up. But on the whole, this narrative of that first half for me was, I felt very united in a sense. And I was like, oh, we're 3-0 up. But I'm worried because, again, I saw Lacazette go left back. If you watch at the 40th minute, I encourage everybody, after Saka gets his goal, watch Lacazette. He legitimately is left back, and he's just dead. He's tired. And I was yelling through my screen, like, I think we need a change, right? Like, whether that's Emile or Eddie, whatever you want to do, the boys up top are struggling, and I think the press wasn't as consistent between the two.
I want to ask you one thing, George, quickly. I know we're looking at sending Balogun on loan, but with the fitness of some of the players like Lacazette, we're not trusting Eddie as much. Alba not being in the squad right now. Is there a chance of being like, you know what, off the bench or in the second half of the season? Do you think there could be an option for him to stay with the team and just get a few first team games, or is it a case of, no, we need you for next season, get those 6 months away, play first team football every week, and move forward for after that?
I would love it. It's been a thing that I've said in past streams that it's the one thing I don't agree with Mikel, and I understand the seniority aspect of the dressing room, but for me, Balogun's been the better player. Balogun is the better player right now. The thing that he doesn't give you, though, is, I'll be honest, is the pressing. So, like, if you're looking for a Lacazette off the ball work, Balogun won't do that right now. And I do think he needs some of that adult football transition to do it. And so you're not going to get the same press that you're getting from Lacazette. You'll get far better on the ball control, and some of our attacking patterns will be much more fluid. your release of Martinelli, you'll see 10,000 times, like the receiving in space that, Granit has been doing and others that release Martinelli. Balogun can do that in his sleep, right? The turn, face, half turn, and play into space. But I don't think you're going to get the same pressure. So that's going to be the thing for me. And I think he does need to iron out a little bit more inconsistencies in terms of his first touch, and just for me earning his spot, because I think he's been killing it in the under 23s.
It's ridiculous.
And so he needs another game, but I just don't know if we're gonna blame seniority, he's not getting in, now, because he would have if we felt like it. So then at that point, I would have preferred him just to go out on loan. But I've been saying for a while, mate, like I wanted him starting in these games a lot more. Even Sunderland, I just don't. There really should be no issue for him not starting there, but I can't see it at the same time. So in that case, it would be hurtful for his career. So I'd have him go out on loan.
I mean, we can have a look at the Nelly goals. I think Chris has got them. So if you look at, this is the thing. So if you look at where Gabriel is running.
But 1 second, can we just pause for the Gabriel? But just look at where Leeds are. This is the middle of the park, guys. Like, so when I tried to say that it was a basketball game and Leeds gave us acres and acres of space, their entire pivot is non-existent in the middle of the park. And, I'm struggling to really praise this. And this is why maybe I'm caught in two minds here, guys. And maybe you guys can help me out, because I'm sitting here as a coach and I'm like, Bielsa, why, man? like why? Like, I'm really happy that Gabby does an insanely composed finish and everything. And then I'm looking at Granit and I'm like, in space, how are you going to screw that up? Am I off here, guys?
No, there's no way. And my whole thing is, and this is why I do like this goal from Gabby, is I feel like when you're in that much space and it's that simple, sometimes you can get in your own head and overcomplicate it and make it. You take an extra touch, or you fluff your lines on the finish, or something like this. But no, he just calmly took the ball, provided by one of the best final third passes in the game, put it in the back of the net easily, and that's what you want. You want the composure and you want the finishing.
And look at Lacazette, guys. So, like, sorry just to cut you off. So this is what I think. It explains a lot of my feelings about why I was kind of annoyed with this first half in a weird way. Lacazette's in midfield, guys, like where Thomas Partey should be. And I just don't feel that. And again, this is a loose ball out of possession, right? Just to give some context, because it's Ayling that was breaking, not Forshaw. But Lacazette, this was in. Can you remind me of the goal exactly, Chris? About what?
14th minute.
Yeah. So for me, this isn't like Lacazette shouldn't be there, I guess is my point. Even running back. And it's fine that, you get acres of space. And of course, Granit Xhaka, he does great in space to do that. But I think the front two just struggled to keep their lines really close. And I think this goal is a perfect example of that.
Well, side on it looks like that is disgusting from
Leeds.
Honestly.
Like, and guys, like have a look at that, because I just don't understand it. But that their entire team
on one.
and this is why I struggle again. And I don't want people to say, "Oh, George, you're being really, really harsh." And I'm like, look, we do well to make advantage and be efficient, but I very much struggle to say pat ourselves on the back too much when this is what we faced for a majority of the first half. What did you guys feel?
Yeah, like it wasn't a game for me. It wasn't a game to draw massive conclusions from on both sides, like negatively and positively, because of the amount of there's no team like this in the league. So there's no real other occasion normally where you'd face this. Like, most games versus Leeds from most teams is like this, which is why when they get spanked, the XG doesn't even need to be high, because you can score from stupid places like City showed us. So against Leeds, I was expecting space, while I was expecting like big goal numbers. So I thought we'd come in and give them 4, maybe 5, because I expected this, and they leave stupid amount of gaps in the space. Why I think they're built perfectly for when United beat them 5-1, I think it was, and I was like, this team is built perfectly for a team like United who can't sustain pressure yet properly and retain the ball. They will give it back to you because they can't sustain pressure either. So then it just becomes pinball, and whoever's more clinical or whoever has better ball striking wins against Leeds. And that's what United do all the time. So for this, I was expecting this coming into it. But I just thought this, obviously without their spine and without Calvin Phillips and Bamford and all these guys, is worse than normal. But stuff like this does happen in other games for them. And it's a Bielsa issue, and they've had it since the championship. So I'm never expecting it to change.
Yeah, it was a lot, mate. And I mean, and then you go on. We probably should talk about the second half because I definitely want to have a section on our drop off. But
look, when it's just going to show you his first touch.
Yes, perfect. And that's, I think, the thing that I wanted to say. Like, he gives the defenders the opportunity, or they think that they can get the ball, and he draws the foul in. Like, he does it too often, and I want to credit him because I think it's a unique dribbling style, and he's done it too often. Colorado Rapids, he's done it. So many times through the middle, that it's a dribbling style of his. It's very, very unique, and I think it's going to serve him really well. I don't know. I just think it's a world-class goal. I love it. And the dink over the keeper, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows where the goal is. He doesn't have to see anything, and it's just immense composure, like beyond his years. So, yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but then after that, you get the Bukayo Saka goal, who, again, I love when Odegaard releases first time. Like, if he was to do this, and this is what I talk about, releasing verticality and kind of releasing the pass that's on, because he does it first time. Bukayo receives on the run. And I think it's, again, another sloppy goal. Like, I don't know, 2 of the 3 of these goals were second balls or deflections.
You're just bouncing around.
Yeah, and, like, you earn your own luck by doing that because we were forcing the issue. But at the same token, I just found it a very weird game. Like you said, Chris, I didn't want to draw in too many conclusions because while we were 3-0 up and while we had 2 XG, a lot of that came from situations like Martinelli, because that goal happened 5 minutes before, but Martinelli slowed up. Like, Granit was in space and released him, but it was a little bit more wide, and he had to, like, hold up the ball, and he faced, drama head on. But that's the reason, in my opinion, we had so many XG chances, because there were situations like that all throughout the game, and they came from transitions, right? So it was death by the sword, or kind of stuff from a Leeds perspective. But after that first half, I kind of want to transition to the second. I saw again Lacazette was in trouble. I don't know about you guys. Did you guys feel the same way as me in particular? I felt like Laka and Ode really were struggling, and I was like, we need something up top just to control this game narrative wise, because I don't like the basketball transition.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing with the second half for me was 2 things. One was the I don't know if it's a lack of fitness, but there's a difference in our dropping this time. This time wasn't in terms of our line dropping; it was our performance in the actual game dropping. It wasn't like we were just going, okay, cool, we're going to sit back and drop low, just bob and weave and sort of just play out the game. It was, I'm going to mention it again, Odegaard under hitting passes, Xhaka getting reckless and being silly. There were multiple performances in that second half where you're like, okay, team is tiring. We need to just play it out and see how we can do. And the second point I'm going to make is the bounce we got from Emil. The impact that Emil made us the minute he came on was ridiculous.
And Tavares as well.
Tavares was great. Yeah, Tavares is running as well. But for me, I want to highlight Emil because with Emil, you understood that his ability to control a game is there. Like, he is able to pick up a ball, not in terms of the Ozil style. I'm going to sit on the ball, stop the tempo, and just reassess the game. But his ability to control the game off and on the ball, move the team.
Sorry to cut you off, but it was early Ozil, like with the off the ball runs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Perfect for a team like Leeds with that much space.
Literally, that's what I was
on the pitch to have the space to go off the ball wherever he wants would have been great for him. We saw it with the Odegaard goal. Like, that was great pass. Odegaard and a great finish.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is he was controlling the ball. He was controlling the game both on and off the ball, and it wasn't as if he was sort of standing on the ball, but he was drawing defenders and making the Leeds team actually bend to his will instead of letting the game get away from us. He was the one trying to draw defenders, pull the line up, trying to getting on the ball. And in terms of the goal he made, again, a good Odegaard pass, very good Odegaard pass, and the finish. I mean, this guy
It was his best pass of the night for me. That's the one that I was like, you know what, that pace of pass, that's what I was looking for.
Boot.
Yeah, and it was phenomenal. And of course, look, Emil's got to do his job, clean strike through the middle. And that's the second goal again. And I think Emil's on 6 Premier League goals now.
7.
Or is it 7?
7.
7 and 2 assists, right? And that bet, Z, mate, come on, man. Like I'm ready for you. But
the same amount of goals as Ronaldo with no pens.
But yeah, I think that second half, just to address some of the concerns, because I saw people say that we dropped off, but I don't know if I agree. I think the technical level and I think the front two really struggled. I do.
I think it was the tiring. I think it was tiring. I think there was a lot of tiring going on.
We were tired,
and
the result was I just think that the attack line and the midfield line, there was a big gap. It suited Leeds. Maybe that's why people felt that we tired. I don't know if I put that into his head, but that's what I talk about when we look at finishing in the game. And you look at how can we change that narrative, right? Because they were tiring. And I think Emil, like you said, Curran, he brought a level of control into the game that, maybe we were lacking both on and off the ball. But moving forward, guys, that goal, the pen, I wanted to maybe highlight it quickly, and then Tomiyasu as well. So Tomiyasu, for me and Curran had a little bit of debate about what was the injury, but ultimately what I'm looking at, and I'll make it quick, but it's nothing big in my opinion.
No,
and I think it was a lot more precautionary than anything, whether you think it's a strain or a cramp. For me, it's just a daily assessment, because the moment before he went down, he made a sprint in a 50-50 in the center of the park that he wins. And then he goes down once he knows that, the ball's out of play. And so he was like, yeah, I'm not comfortable. And I think it was more of a case of, we don't need you to play through an injury here. We're up, So why do we need to do that? And then Cedric comes on. What can I say about Cedric? There's rarely a time when you can say somebody had a poor game and a 4-1 win, but Cedric managed to do it. The bastard managed to, surprise the narrative. And I think he was really poor, mate. Like, I don't want to hammer people, but he really, he constantly let people blindside runners inside. He wasn't tracking people.
No,
he was really, really poor. Even on the ball, I felt like he injected fear into those around him quite a bit. And so the biggest thing was, we know what he is, but I just don't know if we can play him again, guys, because we should have a combo. Like, let's say Tommy isn't quite ready for Norwich, even though I don't believe that, and he certainly won't play Sunderland, but I think he's fine for Norwich. But let's say he isn't. Like, what do you guys do there? Because I don't think we can have Cedric, especially against Solis. This, again, is the big thing. So when you face Norwich, right, their best threat, in my opinion, is Solis down that side. And so the right-hand side is going to be super important about tracking runners. And Cedric was struggling the entire time. So ideally, if we stop this, Ainsley, Maitland-Niles discussion, I think all three of us would say Ainsley, but we've been saying that from the summer.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm just going to respectfully tell, the comments. I think we all know the situation with Ainsley. He's going to be a center midfielder. It's against our wishes, but yes, I think it's as a premise, all of us would want Ainsley. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So let's just make it a debate between Cedric and Chambers, because I think that's ultimately what it's going to be, unfortunately.
We know where Curran's going.
Yeah, we do know where I'm going. Screw Cedric, man. Screw that guy. Free the homie, innit? Free the homie Chambers. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, but it wasn't just him on the goal, though. It was him and Odegaard. Like, this is not an agenda. It's just factual. Them two were the guys in the corner marking the two, and they let someone peel off the back of them and just didn't track them. And we can't afford to have anyone doing that, especially in the box at that late. to have in the box to. Would you rather play holding a move? I was thinking of White right back, but I'd only do that if Tommy goes centre back, and I just couldn't think of who because Mari has COVID, so then it's only holding.
I was thinking about that as well, and the only reason I could do it is I would want a Tommy in there because I think holding gives us a different kind of chaos at the back. I'd rather chaos be on the wing than central. Let me put it that way to you. So when you move Ben White, to the right back, you'll lock down Solus in that area, but you're going to have some jeopardy in the middle just naturally with Rob there. So if I'm going to have jeopardy, I'd rather have it out wide than in the center of the pitch. I was thinking about Nuno for a while there, only because he's really good aerially. He's excellent physically. But in possession, we would struggle. And for me, the big question is, I would probably have Nuno there only if I knew that Emil was going to be the attacking midfielder.
The only thing is, right, and this is for Sunderland, this is just because this is going to be an issue we're going to have to deal with for Sunderland, is the only way this works with Nuno right back is if we go Leno for Sunderland. So Leno and Kolasinac, Holding, Chambers, and Tavares. That's the only way I can see it happening. And then El Neni and Ainsley in midfield. I mean, that's the only way I see it going with.
Congo has COVID, yeah.
This is the thing. So otherwise, I would say, yeah.
Who's going to play at centre back then? Holding and who?
Chambers most likely.
And then Tavares right or Cedric right back.
Cedric right back. He'll make Cedric right back for sure.
Or we go Man City where we got thumped and we go Kolasinac left centre back, and then go Tavares and Holding and then Chambers right back.
I don't need to see them guys live. I need to minimize how many of these guys are seeing the pitch.
Ultimately, the tough thing, guys, is this wouldn't be a question if we didn't have the previous sample of how poor Chambers has been this season. Because in general, he's been really, really good at the back end of last season, right?
Yeah.
And he was consistent. And for me, look, when you have an injury to your main starters, there's a lot of things that you could do, right? Like Nuno would be a chaos choice, a very out there galaxy brain type choice that in your head could make sense from physically an aerial ability standpoint, right? Like, because he is very good in those aspects. Solus would struggle against somebody like that. But then, sorry, boys, I was a left back. So, when you look at it, for me, I always want to replace the profile with the most similar stylistically because that's what the team's used to. And so what I mean by that is if you have, like, for example, a Granit Xhaka that is out, right? Like you want to replace somebody that's as close to that as possible. You have a Partey that's out. You want to replace what you're missing with Partey as close as possible. Tierney, same ideology. That was why in Villarreal, when we missed Tierney, I was like, let's put Bukayo back there. And, we ended up doing it in the Premier League. But anyways, old wounds. I think the logic is very similar. So here, if we're going to have a right back, I want Chambers in there only because he's the closest profile to a Tommy. And, in theory, he gives you 1v1 solidity and aerial ability, but struggles in possession. That's
who's the centre backs then?
But
who's the centre backs for? If we're saying for Sunderland,
I think he'll be a center back. Like it'll be Holding and Chambers. Yeah. But for the Premier League game, that's more of what I'm concerned about.
Oh, for a Premier League game, okay, Faz.
Yeah. For that, I'm more concerned about him, and I'd probably have him right back then.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's difficult because I know that Partey and Saka played, but Saka was more of a right wing back when he did play there. And Partey played with Atletico Madrid. He did. But then to have kind of Lukonga in the middle.
I don't want to see that, man. I don't want to see Partey right back. I just can't.
Well, Lukonga has COVID, so you can't play him there anyways.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And so, and I think because that's why probably El Neni and Ainsley will get a run out, I would imagine, in the middle of the park.
I'm pretty stuck on that's the pivot.
Because that's why even we're talking about Chambers at centre back for Sunderland because Mari has COVID as well.
Yeah, so the thing is, guys, though, for me, ultimately, when you try to replace somebody in a team, I'd rather the center of the pitch or the spine of your pitch be the most continuity.
Solid,
So Gabriel, White, Partey, Xhaka have to be the four in the middle of the park for me. And if you're going to have chaos anywhere, I'd rather it be out wide where it's farther away from goal. And Chambers is ideally the closest complement to Tomiyasu in profile that we do have. So for me, big thing to consider. And of course, let's maybe tie up the game talk to the end, because there is something interesting in terms of there being a postponing of games. But after that, look, the Peno guys, again, I think Cedric is really at fault there. And I think Ben White, the one thing I will say about Ben White is there are times he does go to ground for me that are too early.
Aggressive.
And I think he struggles defending deep at times. And it's not a consistent thing, but, you know, he doesn't push his lineup as often as he should. And there, he just makes the wrong decision for me to go in like that. I think I would have preferred him staying on his feet and, you know, having a little bit more controlled aggression.
Go to ground.
Yeah, there was no need to go to ground there, in my opinion. But again, I think Cedric puts him in a horrible position there. And other than that, Ben had such a good game that it was really frustrating.
Do you really think it was just Cedric?
Look, I think Odegaard has a part to play, but I never blame my attacking midfielder who's helping me come deep do that. I blame my right back who should be there. And
because it was like 2-on-2 on the wing, and then I forget who it was, but Dallas came to support, and someone tracked him. So when Dallas received, they let the man on the left wing go. Like Odegaard and Cedric left it. Like, look.
Yeah. And again, for me though, mate, like Cedric's ahead there, right?
Yeah, he's in front.
And he's the first person to ball. Like he's the first trigger there. And that for me is where the play stops. Like you stop the cross there as a coach defensively, you're done, job done. So that's why I blame him more.
And he didn't, and then it went in, and the guy was gone. Like,
well, exactly. There you go. So then Odegaard's on the inside, but Cedric shouldn't be there, mate. Like those two should be switched. And they don't crap. And look, like he does do poor. Like Odegaard, but I just don't want to hammer him because I think again he's my attacking midfielder.
Like, obviously, Cedric should be deeper, and when he's coming to help, Odegaard should meet the fullback and Cedric meet the winger. But Cedric went out ahead of him, and Odegaard dropped all the way to the byline, which I don't understand why Odegaard was our deepest player on the pitch, to be like completely, even behind like Ramsdale, where Cedric tried to meet the marker. Like it's just a muddle, and it caused a problem. White made the poor choice to slide, because at that byline there's not much he could have done if he just blocked the passing lane. So he should have stood.
That's the thing, and that's why I'm like, you had no need to go to ground, and that's what I do critique White on, because just shepherd him byline, and if he wants to cut back, and you know it's a different phase at that point. Let him come back and let them recycle possession. But you've done your job. You've stopped the middle, and it's so frustrating because for me, Ben White was up there with man of the match, mate. Like I think in the first half, it's very underrated what he was doing. He was breaking lines with ease, and he was having such a good game. And you know he had a Granit Xhaka moment. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Granit Xhaka's moment didn't get punished. So it swings and roundabouts, right? But other than that, I felt like the second half, it kind of pittered out. And of course, we scored that fourth goal, which was phenomenal by Odegaard and Emil. And them two combining, you know, close together. I think it was really good. But
it's so funny. Like Leeds didn't track any runs, like any diagonal runs. The whole game made by anybody, they didn't track any of them. Like they really need to work on that. Like they obviously they don't work on it, but like, it's been a problem since Bielsa came. Like that's an issue. Obviously, quality comes into it, but at some point he needs to change it up. Like otherwise, he's just might even get relegated.
Yeah, it's poor, mate. I don't know what to say. Like the injuries aren't kind to him. I'll be fair, but it was his choice on the squad. And I'll go with S here just to transition in conclusion. He's kind of like, are you guys disappointed by our lack of ball retention? Mate, I think that's the whole point of this pod. We kind of went, unfortunately, against the crowd here where I was just not a fan as much of this performance. I'll take it. If we're going to be a flat track bully against everybody, excellent. But my big point is I don't feel that we dominated possession. I don't think that we dominated. And it doesn't surprise me. I don't know if they did end the game with more possession and more passes completed. And if they did, okay, it doesn't surprise me because I felt that it was just a basketball game, you know, and I felt like at the end of the day, it's fine because we won, but it's not sustainable. And it's not something that I want to see in our future away games. And I want us to do a little bit better job of keeping our lines much more compact. I think the only way we can do that, guys, is by harder running in our team, just in general, getting the spaces a lot closer together. And the only way to do that is we're going to have that right-hand side discussion again and about what we need to combine it. Because I think Lacazette, for me, I appreciate the hard work, but it's between him and maybe Eddie to offer what we think they're doing there. And then other than that, you got to make a choice in that right half space of who you want to pair, because I think the back six, we can all agree, whether that's in the comments or anywhere, we know our first choice, right? So when we look at it, it's a case of who's the front four, and Saka will always start right wing. So it's not even just that. It's like 7 out of the or 8 out of the 11 really are surefire.
Yeah, we know everybody apart from that triangle left.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like you make a decision. So Martinelli's kind of the most informed of the question marks, right? So he's going to play. And it depends where you're going to put him. If you're going to put him striker, supplement him with the ESR Ode Saka front line. Otherwise, if you're going to put him left wing, do unfortunately the Lacazette kind of route. And Emile, though, in the hole, that has to be the case for me. And I think that's what I would do in away games. If we're at home, it's a different story. You can bring in the Odegaard Emile dynamic to control a little bit more.
I don't think like for me, obviously I prefer the Snelly striker, ESR Odegaard Saka.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think Arteta realizes the risk of playing them two together, and he can't afford it, because if you lose one, you can deal with like people say having the Odegaard agenda. We can't go long enough. If Odegaard gets injured for the rest of the season, that's massive impact on what we can actually do. But like if he loses a mil, that's a big impact on what you can do as well. So I don't think he wants to risk playing both of them at the same time every single game.
Yeah.
Just because of what will happen if at least one goes down for a sustained period of time, which is why he's bringing them on. Like Emile has 2 or 3 goals in his last 105 minutes. So he's doing well off the bench anyways. And Odegaard is doing well starting. So I think that's why he's going to keep it 1 on, 1 off. So if Emile starts next game, I wouldn't be surprised if Odegaard's on the bench. And I wouldn't complain because they've both been performing. Just as if Emile doesn't start and Odegaard does versus Norwich, I wouldn't complain, to be fair. Even though I'd want Emile to start, I wouldn't complain.
And we know, like, look, I think people are getting tired in the team. Like the schedule has been coming, and I don't want to hammer the team. I hope this doesn't come off as a criticism after a 4-1. It's just I want to be fair and objective. I don't feel that we control the narrative, and part of that is Leeds. Like we've talked about, what are Leeds stylistically? They leave you so much space in the middle of the park. Yeah. You're gonna take that. You're going to play them to a certain extent that way. And again, this is more of a one-off. So you're not thinking, oh my God, is this going to be the fear long-term? That's not what I'm coming across. I just want to be fair, where I feel like if I see a basketball game, I need to be fair and critique it, because a big reason we lost the games that we lost is because we let them become too basketball. I think with Leeds, you're okay, especially with their injuries, that you get away with it. I think with Norwich, you can maybe get away with it. That's a quality thing. But if you start doing this consistently in away days, we're going to struggle, and we do need to learn to put our foot on the gas. The discussion about how we do that maybe can evolve as we get people back in fitness more, we get our first choice, and we kind of move that way. But all in all, lads, 4-1, goal difference, puts us 4th for the time being. Goal difference is what now, guys? It's
4, I think. Yeah.
4, right? So we're doing pretty decent. We're
doing
pretty decent. And we basically look forward now, and I have highlighted Norwich before in the past. Let's look forward to the preview, because, guys, I think that's a lot tougher game than people are giving it credit for. I think Dean Smith, the way he is compact and he's got them performing at Carrow Road, it's a different team. It's very much like, we can't say that Villa aren't a different team with Gerrard, right? Like things have changed. That game has changed. And so for me, despite the quality of that team, Norwich being really, really poor, I definitely think that we're in for a tough game then. But then we've also got Sunderland before that. So what are your guys' thoughts about how we approach the next 2 games? Because there's a very likely possibility that they postpone at least one match week in this festive period. I think David Ornstein put out a report recently that there was discussions for the game week 20, which is basically our Wolves game, which would be, in my opinion, phenomenal because that's the one home game that we've had. I don't like the postponed game being an away game. Like, if it's a home game, happy days. You know what I mean? And Wolves they're a tough team, right? Like, they're in form. So for me, getting them postponed in between Norwich and then City is probably the best case scenario for us, right? But what are your guys' thoughts about the potential postponed games? Like, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What do you guys think?
So I'm not sure because eventually one's gonna come because we have 2 players out of COVID already. So
yeah,
it might like Chelsea had seven players out and their game still didn't get cancelled. So like we don't know what the parameters are. We'd like to see what you're gonna. So we might not like we might just not get it because if Chelsea had 7 and we had 5, no 6 actually versus Chelsea last time and we didn't get like the game postponed, but Chelsea had 7 today and still had to play the game. So there's no real clear parameters to get your game postponed. So
and also, sorry, Chris, just to butt in, daily narcissism reminders. Christina and Georgina did in fact say that Chelsea would falter, and we are here.
Wait, why am I left out of this? What is happening?
He's reading the comment.
I'm just reading the comment. But daily narcissism, absolutely. But lads, maybe we'll take the next 10-15 minutes for questions from the comments, and then
there's one right there.
Who would I prefer? I would prefer Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the better player by far. It's not even a question. But in terms of maybe a better, I don't really want a striker. Period. So it's a tough thing for me. But I have said in the past, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the most complete 9, and people that think that's what they want, he's your perfect choice. And then followed by Eamon Gouiri, who's your cheapest option that offers a B-Tech version of that. So
I hate that
for me, Sorry?
I hate that you say amen, but with like your pronunciations, there's no point in changing.
Ajax?
Jesus.
Yes. I don't know. I'm going to say...
Cristiano does. I think...
I'm not going to say your name because I don't risk saying names. But yes, I think we can. I think their next run of 5 games, hopefully COVID doesn't disrupt it, but they've got like probably their hardest run left in the season in their next 5. And they have Lukaku, Chilwell, Hudson-Odoi, Werner, what's the 2 other players, they didn't say their names.
I think Havertz.
Havertz, right? Sorry, yeah, Havertz. Out to COVID, plus injuries like Kante, Kovacic isn't fully fit. So like they've lost a lot. And they're struggling again, creating chances and scoring. And like first Wolves, watching their game today, like obviously they sustained pressure, but Wolves' first half were very good and deserved to score. But after that, like Chelsea just kept the ball and Wolves couldn't do anything. And
but the other thing is about that Wolves game.
I do think we can go past Chelsea, especially if we keep our form of late, which I do think we will away and home. And then they have they're 6 points ahead of us, so I'm going to get up the next 5 games, but they're 6 points ahead of us, and they have.
I think it's Villa
away, Brighton at home, Liverpool at home, Man City away, and Tottenham at home.
I can see people moving a lot in the next 5 games, but ultimately they're going to be clear in third point. For me, Christina believes that we can be third. I don't agree.
I think we'll be within 1 point of Chelsea by the end of January.
Maybe by the end of Jan, but not from the fullness of the
January.
That's their January's worse.
We have don't we have City, Spurs, and
Burnley.
City, Spurs, and Burnley. They've got Liverpool, City, and Spurs.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to go because I think there's other questions, but I don't know if I'm quite on board.
I just want to talk about this Wolves because because Chris was mentioning the Wolves game. The one thing with Chelsea that I do see that can be exploited is they struggle with overthinking on the ball a lot especially when they're in possession and as they go forward. And what that Wolves game showed is when they run out of ideas, they just spam crosses and just think, okay, we'll just put it in the mixer and try and get a goal. But my thing is if we look at Chelsea right now, I just don't know how they fix their in possession issues, because I do think they are able to be got out right now.
They switched to a back four.
Yeah, especially when they switched
and it's coming. And it's
coming.
gonna come.
It's coming. Again, daily narcissism. The boys have said it. It's coming. The switch to a back four and that response is going to be beautiful to witness. But I'm going to combine a couple questions from basically Talking Ball and Mush, basically centered on thoughts on the Liverpool versus Tottenham game, the madness of that game. When Klopp went more galaxy brain than Mikel ever did. And I'll maintain that, which really pissed me off. But what do you guys think of Spurs? Are people being overreactionary? 100% people are being overreactionary. Anyone that watched that game and didn't think that there were massive gaps in the middle of the park that even the B-Tech Liverpool couldn't handle was mad to me. And the fact that they continued a high line with 10 men was suicide. They were just shooting themselves in the foot. Like I said, went more galaxy brain than, Mikel ever did. And there's nobody on the timeline highlighting it. That's all on Klopp.
What annoyed me is that he said it was like, we knew they were going to go 5-3-2.
He said it and then kept the 4-3-3. Do you know what annoys me more, guys? He said that post-match, but did you guys notice he switched from a 4-3-3 to a 4-4-2 press mid-game? Yeah. I was like, so wait a second. You expected that, didn't do it. Look, fair play to Tottenham for getting it done. I always give a team their due when they do that, but anyone in the comments that maybe disagrees, I don't know, I challenge you to maybe think I think that Klopp gave him a very easy game plan.
No, they had Morton in the single pivot on his own. It's just like what are we doing?
Like, and the worst thing is there was no response, guys. There was no response. So like this was all happening, and he ended up going 4-4-2 A far later, but then B, what is Alisson doing? Who too bad. He had a great game. And then on the second goal, it's just horrific.
Spurs had 6 big chances in that game.
Yeah.
Like statistically 6, and Liverpool had 1.
And we haven't even talked about the refereeing decisions, that there's no way that Kane should be on the pitch. And
most games he should be off the pitch. Like that guy.
I'm gonna say how I said it on Twitter. Like the excuse was, his leg wasn't planted, so the impact wasn't as deep as it would have been. So basically, what the FA said to Liverpool was, "Did he break your leg? No. So get up and stop complaining. What are you talking about? He didn't break your leg, did he?" Just like, come on.
Yeah, man. He has a lot of leeway. It will never change.
Yeah, no. It's when you're the England captain. When you're the England captain, you get decisions like that.
Yeah, but even with that, so I'm just, in general, I'm not worried for the Spurs derby. In fact, this excites me. I think if Spurs play the way they did against Liverpool now, we are going to feast. We're going to have a very, very good time. I think that Liverpool really struggled with having very poor tactics, having people in the middle of the park that weren't completing their passes. Milner was really, really poor. So I am not worried whatsoever about Spurs. But in terms of, maybe Michael has a question, are you guys worried if White or Gabriel gets injured? I'm worried if Gabriel gets injured, not White, only because we have Tomiyasu. And for me, we have opportunities to replicate some of those at right center back. We struggle at left center back. The drop off from Gabriel to Mari is far worse than White to Tommy, or even White to even Chambers. I would even argue like that drop off is madness. And so I am worried if Gabriel gets injured. And I'm really worried if Emil gets injured. Like I said, like he's been injured, and I think we've managed to get away with the form of the team. But if that guy gets injured, I'm worried about our season. And it's a big reason why I want Aouar. And it kind of is like a nice little transition, because I think asked, how do you guys feel if Aouar went to Spurs? I'd be livid.
Would literally be my worst nightmare. I would. Yeah. I can't live with that. No. It's like Kamara going to Man United. I just can't. I don't want to
Wouldn't
see these
fit.
guys in other Premier League teams week in week
He
out.
wouldn't fit though.
It wouldn't make sense with his back three
Yeah.
unless they try to do
3-4-1-2.
Yeah.
yeah.
Unless he
And-
played a 10 and he doesn't like doing that.
and he doesn't like it, and so I think it's stylistically it's not a fit, and they don't really have that big DM to make it fit in the pivot. You know what I mean? Like
you can't Brozovic and Barella. You can't give
Yeah.
someone the overlap. So
exactly.
it means that it means that they'd have to buy Aouar and a DM, like a proper one, or just risk it, and it just wouldn't fit. And it would annoy me that Tottenham would do it when it doesn't fit, but he fits us a lot, and we don't do it.
I'm just gonna let me just quickly answer this. I've been watching Rice, my guys. I've been doing Rice watch. I'm looking at basketball.
I saw a lot. So I saw a lot of Isak prop that goal.
No, I saw the Isak goal. That was a great goal. But this is my problem with Isak is the same thing I mentioned in my thread. I can't live with someone that only scores worldies. I need someone that is able to take high XG shots and get into positions that can take high XG shots consistently.
Yeah,
And-
estimate. Like I know that Aouar played in a pivot. I actually regularly cite that from the Centurions, but
Yeah.
he didn't do it in a back three. It's a very different system to what he's playing
there's less
right
men.
now. So
There's less midfielders. So it's just is that pivot is the last line to 3-man defense.
and he can't do it with that back line as well. That pivot that Leon
They
had.
can't cover the spaces that he'd leave.
Yeah, so it's unfortunately not it. But there's one question that's probably decent, just so that we can get out on the Odegaard agenda. And I'm doing it facetiously at this point. We don't have an agenda against the player. But would you guys switch up Ode and ESR depending on opponents or play them kind of together? I'll start. For me, I have a very basic game plan away. I would not play Odegaard away from home. Neither would I really like Lacazette. I think Emile, what he offers in that 10 away from home is very specific. But there are times, and I would make Odegaard the finisher because I feel away, I would like us to kill games off with control. I would like us to start hard with a press. And that's why I have Emile as a starter away. But then I would switch Emile at like the 75th minute or the 60th minute and bring on Odegaard to bring more possession. And I would have him as a finisher. That would be my plan in terms of an away day. And then
basically the Leicester model.
I would play them together if we can. And it would depend on the opponent for me.
Basically the Leicester away model.
Yeah,
the Leicester away model is how I would handle away games, period.
For me, I said it earlier, we don't want to risk the injury of both of them or one of them getting injured. So we play one at a time. And away, I'd play Emile. And at home, depending on the form, I'd play Odegaard or Emile. But you can go a sustained period where, like, we went for 3-4 games without Odegaard starting and we were winning. And we've gone 3 games without Emile starting and still winning. So I don't mind, to be fair. Like, for the next game, if Odegaard is not fit, I'd start Emile. But Arteta will start Odegaard if he's fit, just to let him keep going on his form. So I know, and Odegaard is a good player, but I just want to reply to this. No, it's not. Neves is not the guy I want. Mush, you need to stop spreading this narrative because a lot of people keep telling me that I want Neves, but no, I do not want Neves. What do you guys? I saw one like before. There was a Guiri question. Is Guiri like Lacazette? I'll find the comment. But what do you guys think? Because you've
like
watched
Lacazette. He's far better than Lacazette.
He's far better than Lacazette. And the thing is with Guiri is
he's a similar profile, though. I think that's maybe the question that they're asking. Like, is he a similar profile? He is. Like, he's a linking, short, stout, high pressing, high shot creating action machine. That is very clinical.
5
others
shot
into play.
actions per game. 5.
Yeah, and he's a far better pressing trigger too. And he is kind of this person that does prefer the left half space when he does drop deep a little bit too, and when he does explode, he is that linking 9. He's that false 9, that Firmino role that you want to do. He is that profile, but he's doing it at a Nice team that for me has an excellent coach too. That I must say, Galtier. Who's done really, really good to improve his performance. And I like Galtier as a coach, period. But again, the question that I turn back to is I had this convo with Curran. Guri is the person that I would absolutely go for, but then I have Balogun at home. And I constantly say, when you compare the two, what's different between the two? And I'll tell you, opportunity. That's it. They're the
Literally,
exact same profile,
and the funny
and their
thing
strengths are the same.
the funny thing is with
But Guri, sorry, Curran, Guri is a far better presser than Balogun.
Yes, correct.
But Balogun, for me, is a more clinical finisher and has
And a
more
better
variety of finishing, ball striking specifically. But
I mean, the funny thing for me is the last striker I have left is DCL in my scouting list, and I've made my pick is Gori. I think there is there's a real issue with I feel like if you're going to get and my thing is, I think we all have agreed here, and I don't know if you remember, George, we had like a conversation at 3 a.m. about whether we should sign a striker or not. And because I was like, look, why are we just not going to get a striker at all? And George rightly put to me, well, how many strikers do you want at one club? We have Albazet, who, even if they both leave, then you have Nketiah, fine, he leaves. Then you have Tyrese, you have Balogun, you have Beereth, you have John Jules, you have Moller. You can go on and on. We have so many strikers.
We have 6 strikers that could potentially come in to this team. Amani Richards, Keon Edwards, Tyrese John Jules, Flo Balogun,
Mika
Beereth. Like,
those are the good ones. Though. You're not even saying their age mates who play with them, like the other strikers, like Henry Timmy Davies, who signed a pro. Like, there's so many players that you're just not naming just because they are the star men, but they've all signed pros recently and are 18, 19, 20 as well. Like, we're spoiled for choice at strikers, and I don't think we should sign one or will sign one. I really hope we don't. Obviously, Vlahovic is on the Isak hype.
You know what's funny, Chris? Throughout the last 3 or 4 games, no one's talking about our creativity and our XG being really good.
A lot of people have said, imagine if we had, what I've heard now is, imagine if we had Vlahovic instead of Laka.
Yeah.
Because it used to be, imagine if we have Isak instead of Oba. Look how much chances we've created.
But I thought the key was having a striker, and that would improve our creativity, and yet creativity's up, so it can't be that.
One more thing. I love him for La Liga. I love Julian Alvarez for La Liga. I think he's very much built for La Liga at the moment. And guys, if you don't watch River Plate, watch River Plate. They have
watch them now because their league's finished.
Yeah, no. But if you have a chance to watch them, how they've been playing over the past season, I urge
What's
anyone. What's
special about River Plate, Karen? I don't know. I don't know that team too well. Anyways, guys,
a very, very decent manager. I'll say that right now.
There's also one question from Yo-Yo that I think is kind of funny. Which next Prem manager do you think is likely sacked?
It was Benitez before our game. Before our game, it was Benitez, but Bielsa maybe.
I think they gave him to the end, maybe.
I know, but like
they love him.
They love him so much. Like I was saying on the preview, there was because we had this question whether Bielsa, do you think he'll get sacked? And I said no, but like I don't know, man. This is very, very bad.
Tuchel. Why are we laughing?
On a level,
you make me laugh. That's why.
I actually think that it could be Hassan Hudl. And the reason I say that is I see with the fixture congestion, I think Southampton are going to go on a slide of result, and so I can see Hassan Hudl going. I think Claudio Ranieri will get him out, and I think he's the most likely. For some reason, Bielsa should be under pressure, but
you think they're going to go on a slide?
Sorry,
you think they're going to go on a slide?
Yeah,
they haven't won since November, early November.
I know, but they're gonna get worse in my opinion because I don't see where the goals. I never have. I've said Southampton were in my original picks to get relegated, and I don't shy away from that. And I think Leeds will pick up when Bamford gets back, and they will go on a run because they do have a lot of people injured. So I don't worry for them. I hope Sean Dyche. I just hate Sean Dyche. I don't know why.
What?
Sorry.
What did you just say?
I hate Sean Dyche. I hope that he leaves.
What a prick! That guy is a top coach.
But mate, he's a good coach. Like he's a
He's a top
phenomenal. He's
coach.
probably one of the best pressing managers out there. And people are like, "What do you mean?" I go, "If you look, Burnley's pressing numbers are among the best in the league."
Correct.
But he's such a prick, man. Like he gives me
Yeah,
like
his
You know,
persona and
I'll
his
tell
voice
you,
is
I'll tell you
crazy.
who I think that is
but
probably going to
Hassan
get.
Hudl is my most likely. If
For me, it's between because Hassan Hudl is a hell of a shout, but I do think Brendan's under pressure. Brendan is severely under pressure right now, and if this team was meant to be competing for the top 4, it's barely competing for the Conference League right now, and with the talent they have at his disposal, it's just not acceptable at this moment in time. I would just say to you, look, if you have Patson Daka, Boubacar Samare, you have some of these talents that you've brought in. Even bloody Ryan Bertrand as a backup left back. I mean, even he's that's a great signing.
He's been rubbish. He's been
He's
playing
been
left centre
rubbish.
back over free.
I mean, it's just not acceptable. And
Rodgers is not as good as he's popped up to be.
I know, but the point is less I think
United.
they think that
There's a lot of people in the comments. I don't know if it's want, but people think that Conte might be sacked, and
what?
I don't know if that's want or prediction, but maybe some guys in the comments, you guys that have said Conte, is that more want from you guys because it would be funny?
Let me tell you what might
Won his
happen.
last 3 league games.
Oh, let me tell you what might happen. The only way that Conte leaves Spurs is if they screw up the Jan transfer window, and he's just like, I have this squad, you're not willing to invest. What am I doing here? This is stupid. That's the only way he might leave, because like he's not.
It's not a bad shout. I just think other managers will be sacked first because I don't think Conte lasts next summer. Personally,
Opinions on Schick. I know exactly who it is as well.
That's my guy, man. Patrick. That's my
Um,
guy, man.
I haven't watched enough of Schick to rate him, and
I love that guy, man.
I don't like Schick.
Look, I'll tell you this, right? I love Patrick Schick. I've loved him since Sampdoria. I've always followed him. He's been one of my favorite players because I did my degree in the Czech Republic, and I've always had a soft spot for Czech players. Souček is the only one that I can't stand. I can't stand that guy. He's just, I don't know. But Patrick Schick he's the truth, and I don't really want him to come to Arsenal right now. I think he's in a situation right now by Leverkusen where he is the man, and he's surrounded by a great crop of attacking talent, the likes of Florian Wirtz, Moussa Diaby, etc. Even their backline with Tapsoba, Tar, Frimpong, Hradecki, yeah. Like they have a lot of great talent. Even
you don't think his stock will drop again like he did after Roma?
We'll see. I mean,
he's like Morata, a player that will get
an upgraded
that'll
Morata.
go across different clubs. Good potential. He'll go on purple patch runs, but I don't think he ever is good enough for a top 6 club looking to challenge for honors.
Look, all I'm gonna say to you right now is he is matching.
Did you see the face of Kurt? Like, why are you saying that about my boy?
All I'm saying is he is matching Lever game for game. He is matching Lewandowski game for game, and he's played less games, and he's tracking that man with a Bayer Leverkusen side.
He strikes me as a Morata career path, somebody that will get big moves, purple patch. And but yeah, it's not somebody that I'm a fan of.
I don't think I want him in the Premier League. That's the only thing I would say. I don't want him in the Premier League. I want him in the Bundesliga, and I want him maybe in La Liga or Serie A. I don't want him.
He would do well for Bayern.
He'd do extremely well for Bayern. If Lewandowski goes,
I'll coach both him and Wirtz at the same time.
If I'm Nagelsmann and I'm losing Lewandowski, I'm calling Bayer Leverkusen. That's the first team I'm calling, because I feel like Haaland's not going to go there, but Schick might.
Yeah, Schick is 26. 25.
He's 25.
He's 26.
Who is better between Wirtz and Musiala? Musiala.
Really?
Yes.
Not even close.
Quickly before you go on,
I agree with you, but the fact that it's not close.
Would you sell Kolasinac and Odegaard or sell to?
Sorry, say again.
Huh?
Read it.
Where? Would I sell
On the
Kola?
screen.
Former Kolasinac and Odegaard. That's not.
What is
hard.
that? What is that question?
I don't think Michael likes Tierney. Look, lads, but it's getting to that point. It's an hour and 35 minutes in. I think, should I do my typical robot sign off?
Do final thoughts first.
Wait, answer this. No, answer this. I know who you're going to say.
So the biggest thing with that scout is there's a certain right back that George loves and has loved and tried to convince the timeline on for a while. But by the way, this very scout has recommended to Bayern since he was 17 years old, and that's Rydel Baku. And 100%, that is the player from Germany that I would want. This very scout that we've poached has recommended him to Bayern since he was 17. So yeah, it only makes sense to make George very happy and get Rydel back.
For me, I'd want Jude Bellingham to go 4-3-3.
It was not much of a riddle to see who George would pick up there.
Shut up, Karen. For me, I'd want Bellingham to go 4-3-3.
Nashville,
you
can
go
never have
4-3-3?
too much 5-yard burst. You can never, in both your life, on and off the pitch, there can never be a point where you have too much 5-yard burst. And with that bad innuendo and the smile from everybody.
Bellingham to go 4-3-3. You want to go 4-3-3?
No. It's like,
he meant it sarcastically.
Who else would I pick to go 4-3-3? Nobody. So if I was going to go 4-3-3, it's Bellingham from Germany.
Okay. No, fair, because I was shocked. I was like, fam, what?
Anyways, guys, so I think, look, once that Bayern scout was confirmed, I was jumping because, again, Rydel Baku was somebody that he recommended to Bayern for a lot. He was chasing him for many years before he even went to Mainz. So I really hope he brings that energy for us here. Again, hour 40 minutes in. Overall, Arsenal leads. I think it was a great performance and output. I think we can do better to control games. I'm not terribly worried. I'm just really happy that the team's picking up form. That's now, 3 games where we've scored more than 2 goals. We've done really well to keep some decent clean sheets because Southampton was 3-0. Then we had our West Ham performance in this one. So I'm really happy with kind of the short-term form that we've really been seeing. I think we're on our way. We're going to have a lot of content coming up. So we've got Tuesday. After this, expect a preview tomorrow probably, right, lads, for because we got Sunderland on Tuesday. And then we're going to get the match review on Wednesday. And then we're probably going to have a preview either Friday or Saturday for the Sunday game on Norwich, unless it gets called off.
Christmas.
Yeah, mate. Like it's mad and big things are coming for BoP again. And I'm probably going to end on this, that we've got tons of content going. We can't wait to start members content, and we can only do that kind of with our push to 1K subs. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and you hit that bell for notifications so that you know when we upload. Follow us at BoP Footy on Twitter, and you can find me at GeorgeV_AFC. Where can they find the boys, Christina?
For me, find me at PLCKK on Twitter. Last things I want to say is 3 games in a row with 15 shots, and we're the first team since 1996 to lose their first 3 games and then be top 4 at Christmas. That's it for me.
Big.
And BoP Footy.
You mentioned BoP Footy.
493 followers, I think, on Twitter.
Jeez.
To 500 as like a Christmas present or something.
There you go. And we'll have some Christmas content. Let's see. We're hoping for a rebrand as well from some logos. So if you guys know anybody, you guys want to help send some rebrand, you got some ideas, come and chuck it over this way. And Curran, mate, where can they find you?
Are we just gonna let this slide? Are we letting this slide?
It's facts. What do you mean letting this slide?
Are we letting this slide?
Say your last thing, Curran. Let me go.
B-Tech Christina. Go on.
For me, it's at Curran BoP. Firstly, I just want to say thank you to both these guys and the guys that aren't here as well. At the one Willow and for Willow, and at _Z for Z. It's been a hell of a journey since we started this in May, and we're approaching past 850, approaching 900 subs, and soon 1,000 subs. We've got one hell of a video plan for 1K subs. We've discussed already. So onwards and upwards, boys. Just really want to say thank you for all the support. We're going to be doing, I think we'll be doing a Sunderland preview, and then obviously the Sunderland review. We're going to also be doing spaces for the transfer window. for the top 4 race in the Christmas break. Just an overall video on kind of review of the half season, what's happened so far and how we feel about how things are going. Because I don't know about you guys, but in August and in May and in July, I think we all said that December was the time where we're going to start to judge how the season's going to pan out. And at this moment in time, it's not looking too bad. So let's see how we go from here. So
on last thing, sorry,
go on.
I forgot my last thing. Kane finally equaled Fred and Ben-Me and Gabriel Magalhaes on goals this season. And
It's beautiful.
But yeah,
man almost broke his tailbone. Did you see him? Like, what was that celebration? Like,
18 games in, 15 for him, I think. 2 goals. Thank you for watching. We've been here for an hour and 40 minutes.
Jeez.
Anything you want to add, Colin, or not?
No.
Okay, so follow everybody. Willow, Priv Arsenal _Z, George V _AFC, BOP Footy, Current BOP, Pure CKK. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.